Hello. Okay, good evening to all people in India, and hello to good morning to other people who are based out of US and UK. We will wait for a couple of minutes before we can start. It's exactly 3 o'clock, but we'll wait for other people. In the meanwhile, if you have any comments, please post it on the channel, and if you can confirm that you can see my screen, that would be great. Hello, Praful. Hello, Saurabh. Please, can someone confirm you are able to hear me and see me properly? Thank you. Oh, cool. Thank you very much. Just to start off, because we're waiting for a lot of people, question is how many of you know about CRE? If you know about CRE, say yes, and if you don't know, say no. All right. I think we are just on time. And this is where we start. Okay, so welcome everyone. To kick us off, today's topic is about implementing SRE, the know-how of site reliability engineering. My name is Guru Murthy Raghupati, but people call me Guru, and I am quite experienced in site reliability engineering and other related technologies. So this is from my experience, but also is to share of how you can become a site reliability engineer and what are the skills you need to do the same. Okay, so let's get started. Now, the agenda being the what means what is SRE and what are the SRE nuts and bolts. How to implement the same, its telemetries and monitoring capabilities, and the skills to be an SRE, the functionals and the non-functionals. Now, what do I mean by that? It means we will understand what relay site reliability engineering means, how to implement them in detail, but this is not a technical session, and also a brief on what are the skills required to be an SRE. Okay, and no pun intended, SRE does not mean simply restart everything. No, that's not how it works. SRE means site reliability engineering, and if someone says that it's simply restart everything, no, that's not how it works. So to start off, what is SRE? If you have seen my previous video, I'm sure you would have seen something like, oh, SRE means look it from a customer's perspective. And we're going to go into more detail. Okay? An SRE means ensure and the customer and the stakeholders strive for customer CSAT, or what we call is customer satisfaction rate of more than 95%. Okay? And the system conforms to availability, reliability, and other criteria you may have. Okay? Ensure that it's blameless retros. What does that mean? There is no point in blaming each other. Oh, this is your fault, my fault, and all. No. It's about how to fix the problem and take the ownership of it. Ultimately, what SRE means is the data is available to all stakeholders and internal people to fix the problem without making the politics of it. Now, the service nuts and bolts. Before I go into it, I will start the Google Meet session so that you are able to join the discussion later in this one. So just give me a sec. So right. So the service nuts and bolts, the what bit, right? Now, as I mentioned, we have to adhere to some principle to well-defined SLI, SLO, and SLAs. Right? I'm going to give you a very good example of how to go about understanding these three concepts, but there is one more thing called error budget. I'm going to take a very good example of how to do it from, let's say, buying a fan, right? When you buy a fan, let's say Usha fan or any brand, to be brutally honest, what is the metric you're most worried, concerned about? That if I fit the fan, it should rotate in a good speed, correct? Without falling down on your head and not getting injured, and there is a switch you press on and it comes automatically. That's your SLI, the metric, it rotates. Now, what is SLO? SLO is the outcome. There is no point in that fan rotating if we don't get the air or the cool air or the hot air, whatever it may be. So that is the outcome you are worried about or you are expecting. And SLA is the guarantee or the agreement which says, hey, I'm expecting this or else you're going to face a penalty, or you have told me that this fan will work. If you don't, either you have to take the fan back and give back the money, or I'll impose fine on you. And that is what SLA, SLO, and SLA means. Now, you can't expect any system to work for continuously without stopping. So you once in a while, you have to call your engineer and say, hey, fix the fan, or oil the fan, or clean the fan. And if we say, okay, you can come every 1 year to come and clean it up a bit, that's I'm allowing you. And during that time, I'll allow you 1 hour to stop. Yes, but let's say if the fan is kind of working and if the repairman comes every 10 days to fix your fan, you would be a bit angry because you want to enjoy the fan, not the engineer, right? So you have a budget saying you can have a downtime of this much period. After that, you're kind of breaking the SLA. Give me my money back and take back your phone or your fan. Yeah. Now I'll take a pause and wait for some questions from people. Any doubts so far? Looks like it's a no. So let's talk about how to go about implementing an SRE. Right? It's a bit disappointing that we have only 4 people watching. So yes, but I'll go anyway. How to implement an SRE principle? The first thing you have to understand is in a complicated system where a user is coming from n number of places, it may hit n number of services, which is called downstream services. You need to understand every component and the traffic which is going to each system. It can be an API or a database or a SMS system, whatever it may be. What we call the application telemetry. This is your traffic between each microservice per se, right? And the other one is your time span, or what we call, let's say if a request hits login, first it may go to fraud system, then login, and then SMS and OTP. Each service takes some amount of time, which is called a span, and the total span. For example, in this case, the total span was 97 milliseconds. It has hit 4 services to a depth of 3, and the total number of spans were 10. But ultimately, together, it took only 97 seconds. That's well within the limit. Then you should be fine, or else you should be raising alarms. So this telemetry also shows how many errors have you got, or bad request or good request. Everything is taken care of. Now this is from an application point of view, okay, and this is also from an application point of view. This is telling the traffic between your services, and this is the timing between those services. Now once your application is up and running, the next thing you need to look at is the service and the infrastructure health. Now let's say you have a very busy website, right? Then you have to ensure that you get all the metadata. For example, how many requests per second, how many good, and who are the people who are hitting it, not the individual PII, but a thing. For example, how many, if you are a UK business or India business, how many traffic is not coming from those countries. Let's say a dodgy country somewhere else, we don't want it. And also how much of your hardware is being used. So all this should be available on demand. I shouldn't be asking someone to give me this data using an Excel sheet. No, all should be visible. For example, here you can see my CPU is only being used 33% on a normal day, which is fine for me, and there is no swap, so the processes are okay. Even if I get 100% more traffic, my infrastructure would be able to cope about it. Okay. Now let's say something happens. You anticipate something going wrong, which of course happens. Then you need to have the right systems for alerting and calling people. Sometimes computer cannot fix itself, so you need to have a system. Here I have implemented using two systems. One is called Go Alert, where it texts you, and the other system is Alerta, where everyone can log in and look into what are the issues which are being handled by the system. For example, it's an outage, it's production, and all those things. All this is automatically filtered using your telemetry data, and all this is automated, and all the implementation you have seen till now is using open source. And in later videos we will be showing you how to set this up, so don't miss those. Okay, now let's go to the skills to be an SRE. There are two types. One is functional and there is non-functional. And one thing I would like to say is you don't need to know all these things upfront. No, you can develop. Yes, Saurabh Singh said like alert manager. Exactly. Looks like you know what you're doing. So like Prometheus alert manager or SNS or SQS, which can push data to a lot of places, right? So to be a good SRE, lots of companies, what they do is rename their support services people as site reliability engineers now. So I have no disrespect to support engineers, but support engineers who do not have functional and non-functional application or technical expertise do not qualify for SRE, right? So for example, a good SRE understands the TDD, BDD framework and telemetry instrumentations. What do you mean by that? For example, once you develop an application, you have to see whether the data is being pushed to a telemetry system, right? And also they need to understand testing. For example, once a system is implemented, then you do a functional testing or load and soak testing. Now, what do you mean by functional testing? For example, a UI, when it's clicked, you get a nice UI using Selenium or rest assured, whatever it may be. Now, for example, if you want to use load testing, which is you're expecting 10,000 users on an average, then you load test for 24 hours with 15,000 users and see how it copes and whether the hardware is enough. Soak testing, on the other hand, is the same users, 10,000 users, for 3 to 4 days. Soak testing came out of a concept like when you take your clothes and soak it in water for 3-4 days, it should not lose its color. And I tried to soak this one in, but everything was good. So you need to have proper hardware, right? Now, what I mentioned in my previous one was the functional ones. The non-functional ones are to implement tools and services for business dashboard. Remember in the previous one where it was showing your input traffic, output traffic, and all those things? Those are the business dashboards where it says I have got 20 hits to 200 transactions or whatever. And real-time service dashboards, each component, whether they are working okay or not. A business dashboard does not look into one component per se. It looks like if the customer is clicking something, something is happening and they are happy. Real-time service dashboard will be concentrating on each component, whether they are running on high CPU or there is some latency and all those things, and is something going in the background. And also, SREs should be helping development teams and operations people to automate projects and reduce toil. Now, one question I always get asked about is, what does toil mean? Toil means doing the boring manual work, which is you have to do all the time. Oh, this has failed, or restart the machine, press this script, and all those things. No. There should be an emphasis on automating this boring routine work and also help in blameless retrospective. The keyword being blameless. What does that mean? A blameless culture is, oh, this happened because of coding issue, it's guru's fault. Oh, that happened because the infrastructure people like Akshay did not scale it or set auto scale. No, it's not about finger pointing. It's to get the right data and say, this did not happen. Oh, we did not code that. Then you write the tests, and this is where your functional coding experience comes into picture. Once you code that, you blame it and fix the retrospective, take the actions and deploy your fixes or deploy your patches. Once you do that, you are ready to go. Okay? Now, so in summary, you always have to be customer/service centric. You have to have an implement mechanism for service telemetry, functional and non-functional testing, and implement real-time SPOG. Yes, toil means manual, boring work. Right? So implementing single pane of glass for logs aggregation so that you can understand where and everything is going okay. And if something goes wrong, you use an alerting and rota management. All this should be placed well in advance, or you put it retrospectively so that any problems, I don't have to scramble people and do all those things. And also to implement an SLO, SLI, and SLA mechanisms so that we know that we are adhering to those agreeable standards which we have set for our organization. And of course, your blameless retrospective mechanisms. Now comes the good bit about question and answers. And for that, we are going to go to the Google Meet. So you can join the Google Meet and we can talk about it over there. Hi.
Hello, Guru.
Hi. We'll wait for 3 people.
Yes, yes.
Do you think we are a bit late, too late for Saturdays because we are not seeing many people? Maybe we want to send out a poll asking whether we should be changing the time. I think maybe 8:30 is too late.
Yes, yes. We can create a poll. We can start 7:30 or 7 p.m. I think.
Yes, I think that would
It
be a
is al-
bit.
yeah, it is also a dinner time, maybe because of that
Yeah,
in India.
yeah, exactly. Hello, Saurabh sir. Saurabh sir, your camera is not on, by the way.
Audible?
Yeah, now you are visible and audible. Go ahead. Ask your question.
Yeah. Yeah. So my question is like recently I actually set up a sorry, sorry, wait a bit.
No, I think your mic is not working. No, you're not audible. No. Before it was audible, now it's, yeah.
Okay, okay. So I guess now it is okay, right?
Yeah, it is
Yes.
good. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, okay. So recently I actually got a task where I was asked to set up a monitoring system like
Mm-hmm.
Grafana, Prometheus,
Mm-hmm.
and alert manager for the people. So I was asked to set up this PHP application was running for like gaming servers.
Mm-hmm.
So I set up the whole things like I enable the ingress Nginx ingress metrics
Mm-hmm.
so that I can get the total what we call it
Hit
the
ratio.
number of
Hit ratio.
yes. Yes. So my question is basically I'm getting all type of HTTP, you know, request, HTTP status over there, 500, 400, 300.
Hmm.
But the problem is when I go for searching, like, okay, can I see the from what path I'm getting 500 error and on what path I'm getting 400,
Hmm.
right? So I wasn't able to set up that because what happening in Ingress, Nginx Ingress is just basically showing me that okay, everything is coming to the
Hmm.
uh, root URL
Hmm.
something. It's simply show root only.
Hmm.
It's not showing the exact path where this 500, 300, or any other HTTPS code is coming.
Okay.
So my question is like, do I need to ask the developers to have an instrumentation of Prometheus in their application, or I need to just figure it out like if I can put the sidecar with PHP so that it can expose the PHP metrics to it, something like that.
May I ask which web server you're using, Apache or Nginx?
So yeah, so static website assets are being served by Nginx,
Hmm.
and PHP FPM server is being used for the API.
Yeah. One thing you can do is, so your Apache server or Nginx is forwarding the request to your FPM server, correct?
Yes,
What
yes,
you
yes.
can do is change the log format. Look at something called Nginx log format. By default,
Okay.
it does not publish the path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but
Okay.
that's the default. Ping me after
Mm-hmm.
this session, and I will share
Mm-hmm.
the code where the log format you have to change in one part. That's it. So then, as part of the request, it will automatically come. So look at your log format. By default, I think it only shows the host and the HTTP
Yes.
status. It doesn't give all the details headers. You can add this to custom log format, and you can do the needful.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Uh,
I guess pretty much and solve the problem. I guess. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
That's a very simple thing.
Yeah. Okay, I will let Akshat ask the question and then we can come to the next. Go ahead, Akshat.
Hey Raghu, so hey Guru,
Hmm.
sorry. So I am also working as an SRE intern
Mm-hmm.
at Enable IT. So recently they had given me a task.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the task is to collect all the 0 KB files from the server
Hmm.
and create an alert for that in that Prometheus alerts
Mm-hmm.
alert manager. So I have one question like there is node exporter
Correct.
uh, and in that there is a collector, a
Hmm.
text file collector.
Hmm.
So I am confused like how I can fetch the files and create an alert for that. So I am confused in that part.
So, are these files created on a regular basis or are they if you can explain it in a better way? For
Yeah,
example, yeah, go ahead.
They are created on regular basis. Like the server is of customer side.
Mm-hmm.
So my task is to fetch the files, and if there is any 0 KB file size,
Hmm.
then Prometheus will give alert
Hmm.
that there is a 0 KB file size
Hmm.
detected. Please remove it or
Okay.
whatever.
Okay. Look at something called a metric called file uh, um, file stat exporter. Okay,
Okay.
file stat.
Fine.
Okay, what happens is the default node exporter looks at from a VM perspective, the file system perspective, but not to individual assets per se. So you can look at something called file assets. I'm pretty sure that's the thing. Ping me after this thing and I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Because I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure what is the plugin, but I think you can. And can I assume that it's in the same partition or is it in a different partition?
So it will be in the same partition, I
Hmm,
think.
hmm. Okay, I think
Yeah.
you need something like file stat D or something like that, and maybe you have to tune the collector a little bit because by default only it looks at the CPU and the file system. It doesn't look at
Yeah,
the file
that's the
user.
main. Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
the yeah you have to
yeah.
tune the what it collects and everything. Ping me after this and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Is
Thank you.
that acceptable? Yeah. Go ahead, Gaurav. You have any questions? Okay, Gaurav is on mute, so we will go with Rashid. Hello, Rashid. You can ask your question. Hi, Gaurav. Understand. You can type the question if you want, but you can unmute yourself. Don't need to turn on the video. I understand. You can cause the questions anyway. Okay, looks like Rashid and Gaurav are not able to talk. Saurabh, do you have any other questions?
No, 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 not really, right?
Okay. Akshay, anything from your side?
And no, nothing from my side as well.
Hmm.
Thank you, Guru.
Okay, yeah. I have some basics question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this role of SRE is for all stack person, or is it only for some particular like DevOps or something?
Very good question. If you looked at the topic, the presentation, there is a misconception that support engineers are SREs. That's a pure wrong method of insight. What happens is some companies, what they do is they want to make the support engineers feel that they are SREs, but they are not. Uh, Support engineers play a different role. I'm not saying they're demonizing them. No, they have a different role where they get calls from users. We are saying, and it may always not be a system problem. It can be a client problem, right? But SRE come from both infrastructure and development background. If you go to Google or some of the best companies, SRE are sometimes the most talented people. They are very, very senior, experienced people, right? I'm not saying that you cannot become an SRE, but you need to have application development and infrastructure engineering. And you need to understand a bit of network, and it needs a heck lot of practice. SRE was started by one of the senior presidents at Google. And if you look at some of the SREs at Google, they are like 10, 12 years experience in application development, infrastructure engineering, networking, all those things. So you need to have experience. But you don't have to do everything. You have to understand the problem, where the problem is, and get along with this one. So, uh, Gaurav says, I just joined and he will go through the recordings. That's fine. Understand. So, uh, ultimately, what you need to do is understand the whole big picture, but also should be able to debug individual components. You don't have to do it. You can sit. Of course, you're not on your own. You have to engage the team and operations and tuning, and sometimes you need better hardware. So in that case, you have to talk to the infrastructure people. Okay.
Right. Thank you so much.
Uh,
And I also just want to ask, like, after seeing the recorded video, people may ask the question, so I am helping to them.
yeah.
Like, can fresher get this role in their starting of their career? Like, Akshat is here. He's an example. Like, he's got an internship. I think it's his first internship as an SRE intern. So, what would you like to say about that?
Okay. My suggestion is it is not going to be easy. Yes. If you think that it's going to be easy, no. Google does not have a separate department for easy things. Let me put it that way. When they start something, something really needs to be done because they're not going to sit there and waste the money, and especially not some very expensive Google resources. So, my suggestion is when they tell you to do SRE, try to automate a lot of things. Remove toil. Don't do the boring donkey work. गधे का काम मत करो. Right? Automate things. If this happens, trigger something, it should go and do an auto scaling automatically based on CPU usage. Do those kind of automation. Think about automation. Think about Guru doing the manual job. Why is he doing a manual job? It's a waste of my time. So my suggestion is that, and for example, if an error occurs, do I have to go and manually simply restart everything? No, you don't need to. What you need to do is write a script to do that. Okay? So, but try to automate. You don't need to automate everything. Small. Write a retrospective, create a task, get an agreement from infrastructure and development team and testing, and try to implement it. And read books. One book I really recommend is a book called The Culture Map by Ryan Mears. Okay, Erin Mears. This book, if you can get a hard copy, good. But if not, get a PDF copy. This will allow you to communicate far better with different people because all of them may not be in India. Some of them are Western and Germany and US. The way we communicate differs a lot. So for that, read the book. This has nothing to do with SRE. It's to how you communicate with people. I hope this makes sense to you. Or if you need more, pick me after the session and I'll help you out.
Yes, sure. Let's sufficize the answer.
So I have one question.
Can we give Rashid 5 minutes? Then I'll answer your question if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rashid ji.
Hi sir, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much. First of all, I am a network engineer,
Mm-hmm.
so I have a doubt for I am switched to learn for DevOps.
Mm-hmm.
So is this needful network is important to switch to DevOps profile?
Right.
Important.
Yes and no. Depends is the right answer. Let me put it this way. Why? See, DevOps is not about only technical things. It's a culture thing, right? For example, let's say you want to implement DevOps culture is an on-prem infrastructure, which you can for sure. Then you need to understand network model, what subnet this and that, because you cannot code it out using Terraform. No, because it does not apply for that. But if you're creating a new infrastructure using AWS or GCP or even Azure, and if you're writing code as infrastructure as code or even creating using UI, which I don't like, you will create subnets for everything, what we call the tier architecture. In that case, it's not your responsibility to maintain the network. You just create them and it goes and creates them. So depending on where you are creating and how you are doing it, you may need to understand the basics to a certain level for sure, but you don't need to get into the nitty-gritty of it. But having given that you're already a network specialist, it really helps. For example, during security review, you can say, hey, your web server your UI and the database is in the same subnet. That's an absolute no-no because your web servers are normally in your public subnet. You shouldn't be doing this. So especially from a security perspective, and also you can say, okay, don't open all the ports. Please open only 8443, and you have to restrict your database subnet only accepting request from your web server and not from anywhere else. So all these kind of restrictions you can give during security review or during design review. But in a nutshell, having this knowledge is good, and don't restrict yourself saying, oh, I'm a network engineer, can I become a good SRE or can I become a good DevOps engineer? You can always. No one is stopping you. It's like going to a nice restaurant and eating biryani all the time. Once in a while, you can have dal roti as well, right? No one is stopping you from that. I know that I'm sure the biryani in your house is far better than the biryani in the restaurant because you're a Mohammedan for sure from your name. But that doesn't mean that a dosa or idli in a restaurant is not good. You can always come to my house. My house, idli and dosa is very good actually. So no one is stopping you from eating and also learning how to make them.
So as per knowledge, what is my next step or so become switch to develop? What is
Don't
important?
switch. That's the point. Don't switch. It's like, okay, from today onwards, I'm not going to eat biryani at all and I'm going to eat idli dosa only. Who's telling you to do that? No, you can be a network engineer and also move to DevOps and do at the same thing. Look at me. I come from pure development background. Java, Spring Boot, and WebSphere when I used to work for some investment banks. Then slowly, I learned both. Then DevOps, then SRE. Now I'm a cloud engineer. That's my title. It doesn't say I'm a cloud network engineer or a cloud application engineer. I'm a cloud engineer. I can do engineering, whether it's networks or DevOps or site reliability engineering. So please get out of this concept of I'm a DevOps engineer. There is no title called DevOps engineer in real term. It's a DevOps culture implementer. You are an engineer. That's what you are. Who helps in DevOps practices. I do not like the industry where say title, you are a DevOps engineer. No, we are looking for an engineer who can help us in DevOps implementation. So don't leave your network. Get a good mentor who is very good at DevOps and site reliability engineering, or who's a very good developer, and create a small community. Akshay, who's here, has a very good community of very good people. Get him on LinkedIn and Discord, and we all communicate over there. You can come and learn from each one of us. It's not only me or Akshay there. There are like 300 people, Akshay, correct?
No, it's a more than 500 people.
Okay, here you go. So there are a lot of people to do that. We communicate on a
I want to say that Akshat is here. He is also from our core team member, and Saurabh is also from growing community. Saurabh is also from growing community. They all are from there. You can just
Okay,
update us.
send me link and I will join.
yes.
Sure.
And Akshay, can I ask you a favor? Put your LinkedIn profile in the chat window,
Yes, sure.
and so that Rashid, don't
Yes, sir.
keep this to yourself. Share this with friends, and
So
and
I do
share.
a lot. I'm very fair to create to a YML file, JSON file,
Hmm.
and some coding. So I very scared. So that's I'm very
Don't
fair to
no.
find in the DevOps field. So that's
Don't see, you're not doing everything in production. And as long, see, if you think that I have not made mistakes in my life, well, I don't want to take the company's name, but I once this is one of the biggest companies in the world. It's a financial services, and I buggered something, and the whole website, the European website, went down for 1 hour. The potential reputational loss and commercial loss was $2.3 million. But I did the right thing, owned up to it, and recommended something, and all went well. And they actually extended my contract for more time. Why? Because you ownership, and it's always not Rashid's mistake or Guru's mistake. It's a company's process mistake. So that's where blameless retrospective comes into picture, right? And we did it, and after that, till I was there for 4 more years, there were no outages. So don't be afraid of trying to experiment. If you think somebody dreams of something and then it comes through, no, it's not. It's everything fails. Everything has experiments. So don't be afraid of experimenting. Create a sandbox, free tier, AWS and GCP, and try things out. Azure DevOps is free. Try it on that. Yeah. Go ahead, Akshat.
So, Guru, my question is like, which book should I read for SREs, and what would be my next step in the company? Like, I am working as an intern, so I have to upskill myself also. Like,
There are lots
I
of
am
books.
learning from
Yeah.
Prometheus.
Yeah. There is no. Okay. So let's say if I ask you, you are a Jain. I'm sure you don't eat biryani. I'm pretty sure,
Yeah,
right? I'm sure you eat rice for sure. Correct?
yeah,
No. What I'll do is, if I tell you, teach me how to cook roti and dal, you will give me the recipe and say this. If I just
yes,
read about it, I'm not going to make. I'm not going to be a good chef for sure. Yes,
yeah,
I have to
yes.
practice.
Practice, yes.
Yeah. So
So that's
practice.
the main thing. Yeah,
Today you practice dal and roti, then rice one day, then pulao one day, with garlic, without garlic, depends on Jain people don't eat garlic sometimes. So it all
yeah,
depends, right? And also don't be afraid to experiment. Don't There is no prescribed path. I did not say, oh, I want to become an SRE 20 years ago when there was no SRE and I started my journey. No. Be curious, try to automate small things, and you will be in the right. And don't be afraid to ask your colleagues, hey, give me your 5 biggest pain points, and try to automate something.
yeah,
They may say, oh, my build server wakes. Okay, I'll create a single point of glass using this thing. Each time there's a problem, you'll get an email. But people sometimes don't like an email. Just create a TV model and just put it on your computer. Oh, each time you can come and say hello and look at my screen saying, no build is failing, then you find. Small things, and then once people see the result, they will come and say, Akshat, can you do this? Akshat, can you do that? And once you do that,
yeah.
you will get a heck
You are
lot of people to do.
incrementally learning and
Yeah, exactly. Correct.
experimenting.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from anybody?
If any problem, so how will you connect those people? Uh, if any number, same.
Which one? Sorry.
If any problem, then how to connect those
Wh-
guys?
Who guys?
Which guys?
You can message on Discord server
I think he is asking
in
for
general
our
section.
growing community. So you
Yeah.
can ask for Discord. We have Discord server. You can just ping us, or you
Huh.
can just DM me. I will reply you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Cool. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. And I'm going to. We forgot the next bit, right?
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Next week, we're going to learn from one of the DevOps in depth person. His name is Savinder, and we're going to have a 1 hour chat. But the timings are different. It's at 7 o'clock India time, coming Saturday, and London time 1:30, which is where I am based out of. So 1:30 plus 5:30, yeah. At 7 o'clock, please log in, share with this one. Savinder is an SME in DevOps. He has very good lecture, and I hope to see you there. Okay, so I'm going to stop the streaming and also this session. Thank you very much, guys, and toodaloos.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Guru, for this wonderful discussion,
Thank you.
and thanks for all.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Thanks,